Good morning, everyone.
Доброе утро.
I
Привет.
invite you to take your seat. If everyone could be seated so we could begin in 30 seconds. I trust we've all had our coffee and we're ready for an exciting 26th Council session. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I would like to welcome you all to the meeting of the 26th IRENA Council. My name is Mr. Tomasi Blair, and I'm the Deputy Permanent Representative of Antigua and Barbuda to the United Nations and Chair of the 25th meeting of the IRENA Council. Under item 1 of the provisional agenda of this meeting, I declare open the 26th meeting of the Council of the International Renewable Energy Agency. I would now like to address the Council. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor for Antigua and Barbuda to address the 26th meeting of the Council. Let me, at the outset, use this moment to pay my regards to the loss of life that we are witnessing due to recent developments in the region. During our chairmanship, Antigua and Barbuda has observed and was grateful for the strong engagement and participation at the 25th Council meeting in May from Council members and alternates, as well as the wider IRENA membership. I would also like to take the opportunity to thank the United States of America as Vice Chair for supporting the deliberations of the 25th Council meeting in May. Dear members, through our open and constructive discussions and rich exchanges, we came together to outline our forward-looking vision for IRENA and the work undertaken by the agency, providing our feedback and inputs on important documents, including the preliminary framework for the work program and budget for 2024-2025, which lays out the programmatic and institutional direction of the agency over the next biennium in line with the midterm strategy 2023 to 2027. Together, our commitment to strengthening the role and work of the agency, including by highlighting our unique circumstances as well as shared endeavors, empowers IRENA to move forward in mobilizing urgent and targeted action, unparalleled international cooperation, and continuous innovation, taking the leading role in accelerating the renewables-based energy transition across countries, region, and the world. This would not be possible without each and every one of us and our commitment to the mission of the agency. Indeed, the unique perspectives that each one of us brings is one of the agency's biggest strengths. It is because of our engagement in this platform on the realities and opportunities on the ground that we inform and guide the work of the agency and collectively steer global discourse and action towards a just and inclusive energy transition. This is especially so in the context of small island developing states, where the climate crisis presents an existential threat and profound shift towards a renewable-based energy transition, as well as urgent and adequate financing of this mission. It is critical. This is, by now, a known fact, and time is running out. However, vulnerable communities and economies require immediate efforts and action to secure tangible outcomes. With regard to Antigua and Barbuda's commitment to strengthening our renewables-based energy transition, Antigua and Barbuda surpassed our previous renewable energy penetration target, and therefore we have recently put forward an updated national energy policy that provides an even more robust policy framework that will support developing and implementing energy projects, programs, and policies across our diverse energy sector. This includes energy supply, consumption, energy affordability, and energy system reliance. While the price of renewable energy has declined, the rate of adoption in Antigua and Barbuda has slowed. This is mainly due to global circumstances, including external shocks, and an onslaught of climate disasters, including the impact of hurricanes on the island. The reality is, while we have put forward efforts as a small island nation to accelerate our transition to renewables and play our part in tackling global emissions, we simply cannot do this alone. We need partners at the table, partners that would provide technical support, transfer of renewable technology, and concessional financing, including grant funding. As Antigua and Barbuda prepares to host the 4th UN Conference on Small Island Developing States next year in May, we are turning to IRENA and the IRENA SIDS Lighthouse to assist SIDS in meeting our renewable targets. The conference, which is held every 10 years, is the last opportunity before the expiration of the 2030 agenda. SIDS have set ambitious energy targets in their NDCs. However, most of these are conditional on external support from developed economies and the private sector. According to IRENA's World Energy Transition Outlook, more than half of the 11.5 gigawatt targeted capacity by 2030 for SIDS remains conditional on provision of international support in the form of financing, technical assistance, technology transfer, capacity building, and other forms of support based on each country's national context. Providing such support will allow SIDS to capitalize on their renewable energy resources to mitigate and adapt to climate-induced vulnerabilities while ensuring energy security and sustainable socio-economic growth. At the 4th SIDS Conference, Antigua and Barbuda will launch the first ever Center of Excellence for SIDS. The Center of Excellence will feature a SIDS Global Data Hub, a technology and innovation mechanism, and a Davos-style SIDS Investment Forum. All three components of the SIDS Center of Excellence provides opportunities for renewable energy investment in SIDS, including for vigorous discussions on international finance and energy transition diplomacy. Dear members, the next few months ahead are of great importance as we prepare for the conclusion of the first global stocktake at COP28 in the United Arab Emirates. As members of IRENA, we have experienced the warm hospitality of the UAE over many years. COP28 is therefore especially an opportune moment, almost like being on home base. We have been strong and unified in our collective call for accelerating the energy transition and placing renewables at the heart of the climate discourse. We have been resolute in our aim to advance a just and inclusive energy transition, where energy access, lives, and livelihoods are keys to our shared prosperity. We continue to take a holistic approach to this shared endeavor, highlighting nexus issues and the socioeconomic benefits that results from this approach. We have all the information and experience amongst us, and I'm sure that we will make this best use of the opportunity. Together, we'll work to turn our shared vision of a future powered by renewables a reality. I thank you. I now invite the Council to turn to item 2 of the provisional agenda. We will take up item 2A, election of officials. According to Rule 15 of the Rules of Procedure of the Council shall elect a chair and a vice chair from among its membership, with due regard to equitable geographical representation. At its 25th meeting in May 2023, the Council had designated the United States of America as chair and Panama as vice chair. Do I take it that the Council wishes to elect the United States of America as chair and Panama as vice chair of the 26th meeting of the Council? I hear no objection, so decided. It is now my pleasure to declare the United States of America, represented by Mr. Chris Davey, Deputy Assistant Secretary at the United States Department of State, as chair, and Panama, represented by Her Excellency, Ms. Rebecca Perez, Ambassador of Panama to the UAE, as vice chair of the 26th meeting of the IRENA Council. I would like to extend my best wishes to the United States of America and Panama. I am confident that under their stewardship, the outcomes from the Council's deliberations will reach greater heights. Let me now hand over the chair of the Council. Please, Mr. Davey, join me at the podium.
Good morning. I would like to thank the chair of the 25th Council, Antigua and Barbuda, expressed by Mr. Tomás Blair, Deputy Permanent Representative of Antigua and Barbuda to the UN. Before I address, I would like to run to the appointment of the rapporteur. Rule 18 of the Rules of Procedure requires that the chair propose a member of the Council to act as rapporteur. I would like to inform the Council that I have proposed to Rwanda to act as a rapporteur, and I'm pleased that Rwanda has accepted this responsibility. Do I take it that the Council agrees with my proposal? I hear no objection. It is so decided. It is my pleasure to declare Rwanda as rapporteur of the 26th meeting of the Council. I would like to thank Rwanda, represented by His Excellency Ambassador John Mgengi, for accepting this position, and I'm looking forward to working with them in finishing the report of this meeting. Now that the full Bureau of the 26th meeting of the Council is elected, I would like to say a few words to give some context to our meeting today. Excellencies, Director General La Camara, Deputy Director General Singh, Directors and staff of the IRENA Secretariat. My name is Chris Davey, and I have the honor of serving the United States as the Acting Deputy Assistant Secretary for State for Energy Transformation. To chair the 26th meeting of the IRENA Council is a great privilege for the United States. On behalf of my government, I thank the members of the Council for their dedication to the work of IRENA. In particular, I would like to thank and congratulate Mr. Tomás Blair, Antigua and Barbuda's Deputy Permanent Representative to the United Nations, for his excellent stewardship as chair of the highly productive 25th Council. I also want to thank Panama, and in particular, Ambassador Perez, for coming forward to serve as the vice chair of this 26th meeting of the Governing Council. Muchísimas gracias. The 26th Council has two important responsibilities. First, we must assess IRENA's work over the last 2 years. Second, we must consider with care the Director General's proposed work program for the next biennium. I applaud all members of the Governing Council for their willingness to accept this responsibility. As we all recognize, we undertake this work at a pivotal moment. Everyone in this room today can call to mind tragic and frightening examples of the impact that climate change has had on our home countries in the last year, even in the few months since we last gathered in this room for the 25th Governing Council. None of us, none of our home countries are immune from the consequences of climate change. Our common recognition of that reality is the reason we have come together under the auspices of IRENA. We all seek to accelerate the transition to a sustainable energy future. Let us keep our common goal at the forefront of our thoughts as we work together during this council. Let us keep our focus on achieving tangible outcomes, such as increasing financing and investments in renewable energy, especially in the most vulnerable countries. And let us keep in mind that we are just a few weeks from the opening ceremony of COP28 right here in the United Arab Emirates, where we will assess our progress to date and recommit our efforts for our future. I am confident that our work over the next 2 days will support and feed into the work our nations are undertaking to prepare for the COP28 discussions that will begin in Dubai on November 30th. Before I finish, I would like to take a moment to thank Her Excellency, Dr. Nawal, Director General Al-Kamra, and COP28 UAE Changemakers Majlis for a wonderful event last night on the importance of mangroves to our climate, but also the overwhelming importance of diversity and the focus on women in energy, a topic of utmost importance not only to me personally, but also to our collective ability to reach our renewable energy targets and our climate goals. In fact, according to an IRENA report, solar PV industry has the highest share of full-time women employees, reaching 40% in 2021, and within that industry, women represent 47% in solar PV manufacturing, but only 13% of senior management posts in the solar PV industry. That said, more glass ceilings need to be shattered and will be shattered with events like last night, continued outreach, and a commitment to, and I quote, a just and inclusive energy transition that is not only about energy access, but also is about making sure everyone is included and benefits from this process, end quote. Now that is not my quote. That comes from IRENA's Director General Al-Kamra. And with that, I look forward to an excellent 26th IRENA Council. Thank you. It is now my pleasure to invite the Director General of IRENA, Mr. Francesco Al-Kamra, for his welcoming remarks. You have the floor, sir.
Buongiorno. Good morning, everyone. So, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, it is my great pleasure to welcome you to the 26th meeting of the Council. I am delighted to see that 380 delegates registered to attend this Council meeting, representing 111 members and 6 other countries. Let me express sincere gratitude to Antigua and Barbuda, represented by Mr. Timothy Blair, Deputy Permanent Representative of Antigua and Barbuda to the UN, for your work and continued support as a leadership and as chair of the last Council meeting. And I wish to join your words on paying regards to the loss of life that we are witnessing to the recent development. I also wish to warmly welcome the United States of America, represented by Chris Davey, Acting Deputy Assistant Secretary, Bureau of Energy Resources of the U.S. Department of State, and Panama, represented by His Excellencies Ms. Rebecca Perez, Ambassador of Panama to the UAE, for taking up the role of Chair and Vice Chair, respectively. We look forward to working closely with you in the coming days and beyond. We are meeting at the end of a very busy week as the work of COP28 is accelerating. The UAE hosted the second meeting of the Mitigation Working Programme, which ARENA helped deliver in close cooperation with the UNFCCC and co-chairs Egypt and France. Immediately prior to this meeting, ARENA took part in a 3-day workshop on the global stocktake at the invitation of the UNFCCC chairs and subsidiary bodies. These meetings provided an excellent opportunity for ARENA to share its knowledge and messages, but also to learn from rich and detailed discussion with countries. And both sharing our knowledge and learning from countries are at most importance as the pressure to accelerate implementation heightens. ARENA's 2023 World Energy Transition Outlook shows that the direction of the transition is sound, but the speed and scale are not sufficient to realize it within the required time frame. To change this trajectory, we need to have clarity on how we can scale it up, while understanding that each country has its own priorities, context, and ability. We have a full agenda that will take us across sectors and geographies of the energy transition and examine important programmatic and institutional topics. But let me share with you a few thoughts. We are meeting some 40 days before COP28 in Dubai, where the global stocktake will clearly show that the possibility of staying on 1.5-degree pathway is slipping away. And the small chance we have to course correct hinges on the collective ability to rapidly accelerate the deployment of key technologies in a just and inclusive manner. We are also acutely aware that the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals are lagging across the entire agenda. And energy is the backbone of both of these global commitments. ARENA's World Energy Transition Outlook shows that electrification and efficiency, fueled by renewables, clean hydrogen, and sustainable biomass, is the most realistic pathway to keep us on the 1.5 degrees. Today, most of the credible scenarios are in line with this direction. We increasingly see alignment with ARENA's long-standing estimates that were considered too ambitious a few years ago. The World Energy Transition Outlook made it clear that by 2030, renewable energy has to triple and efficiency to double to stay on a 1.5-degree pathway. And this message is now widespread, firmly embraced by the COP28 presidency. ARENA also supported the work of G7 and G20 presidencies to integrate this underlying strategy into the outcome of this important forum. It is echoed by many countries and regions and some 50 companies that have already signed a call to follow this direction. And also the African Summit a few weeks ago went into this direction. Last month, the G20 leaders, in a landmark move, endorsed ARENA recommendation. Their statement aligned with ARENA call for 11 terawatts of renewable power capacity by 2030, backed by $4 trillion in annual investment over the same period. In the past month, we have also engaged closely with G7. In the April Summit, the G7 leaders agree on a collective increase of 150 gigawatts of offshore wind and 1 terawatt of solar PV by 2030, in line with ARENA's 1.5-degree pathway. These are realistic paths that can be realized, but much needs to change, and fast. Cumulative investments between now and 2030 need to total 44 trillion of US dollar, with energy technologies, green technology representing 80% of that. But what we see that current plans amount to 29 trillion of US dollar, so additional investment of 15 trillion of US dollar will be needed until 2030. We also emphasize that a change in the volume and type of investment is required to set a stage for a dramatic decrease in the fossil fuel share by 2050. A major concern is that deployment is concentrated in only a few countries and limited to the couple of technology, largely in the power sector. And this has been the trend for the past decade. This reality must change. We need to use the energy transition as a tool to shape a more equal and inclusive world proactively. This means building infrastructure that the renewable-based system requires, also including those who have left behind until now. We need to invest massively in grids and routes on land and sea, and proactively account for new production locations, different patterns of trade, and demand center. The recent Nairobi Declaration, adopted at the first climate summit in Africa, clearly captures an aspiration for a different energy future, where renewables are also a tool for green industrialization, social inclusion, and what they call it, a climate-positive growth. Investment in infrastructure need to be accompanied by evolved policy and regulatory architecture that consider changing dynamic and move investment in the right direction. Finally, there needs to be a strategic shift in institutional capacity so that skill, capabilities, and structure are aligned with the system we are trying to create. So, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we need to deliver on the promise to leave not one behind and ensure a prosperous and climate-safe life on the planet. The tools and means do exist. What is required is the political will to provide clarity of direction and the commitment to deliver this promise. On our hand, I wish to reaffirm the IRENA's commitment to providing timely analysis and policy insight, empowering our membership to remain ahead of the curve. Last week, we circulated an information note outlining our initiative for COP28, each designed to work in tandem to address and provide solutions toward the tripling of renewables by 2030. From climate financing to private sector engagement, as well as youth and education, this initiative echoes IRENA's holistic approach to energy transitions, which has been a mainstay of our work since establishment. This means that the work and the success of this initiative will extend beyond COP28. We must continue to leverage our long-standing partnership while seeking new collaboration to ensure that we are able to implement our goal in the short time that we have left. It is my hope that our discussion today and tomorrow will bring new insight and ideas on how IRENA, as the global platform for international cooperation of renewables, can deliver fully on his important mandate. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I thank the Director General for those wonderful remarks, and Mr. Blair for his remarks, and concur, and I believe all of us have our thoughts and prayers for those who have lost their lives, both in the region and throughout the world. I now would like to give the floor to our Vice Chair of Panama, represented by Her Excellency, Ms. Rebecca Perez, Ambassador of Panama to the UAE, to share some opening remarks. Excellency, you have the floor.
Buenos días a todos. Estimado director general, doctor
Good morning to all
Rivera,
of you.
señor
Director
Chris
General, Mr. Chris
Presidente de la
Davey,
reunión
President,
26ª
the
del
Chair
Consejo de IRENA,
of this
miembros
26th
del Consejo.
meeting of the Arena Council,
En
members
esta
of the
ocasión,
Council.
como
On this
representante
occasion,
de
as
Panamá
representative
y
of Panama
vicepresidente de este
and
Consejo,
Vice
me
President of
gustaría
this
recordar
Council,
la
we would like to
responsabilidad
remind you
que
of the
tenemos en
responsibility that we all
acelerar la
have in
transición
accelerating
energética
the
a
energy
través de la
transition
colaboración
through
internacional,
international
tal como lo
cooperation,
dice el estudio
as
publicado por
stated
IRENA,
in
que
IRENA's
llama
report,
a este
which
actuar.
calls
A nivel
on
internacional
this
estamos
level of
observando
action. At
la
international level, we're
expansión de las
finding
soluciones
that their technological solutions
tecnológicas
are expanding,
sostenibles. Sin
sustainable
embargo,
ones I'm talking about here.
todavía las
However,
emisiones están en aumento
emissions are still
y
growing,
requerimos actuar con
and we
mayor
call
premura y de
upon all
manera
of you to
decidida.
act faster
Estamos
and
seguros
decisively.
que el
We
resultado de
are
estas
certain
sesiones
that the
será
conclusion
fructífero
of
y
this
nos
session will
llevará
be
a acercarnos
fruitful and will help
más a la
us
meta.
come closer
Gracias.
to our objectives. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency. The Vice Chair and I would like to thank you all for the trust you have placed upon us, and I'm looking forward to our collaboration. This concludes the consideration of item 2A of the provisional agenda. I now invite the Council to turn its attention to item 2C, adoption of the report of the 25th meeting of the Council. Pursuant to Rule 49 of the ROP, reports of Council meetings should not be official until approved by the Council. I apologize. Got a little ahead of myself. I now invite the Council to turn to item 2B of the provisional agenda, adoption of the agenda. The provisional agenda is contained in document C26L1. The provisional agenda of the coming 2 days contain a number of programmatic policy and institutional discussions which are of direct relevance to the ongoing work of the agency and for its work program in the next biennium. Do I take it that the Council wishes to adopt the agenda for its 26th meeting as set out in document C26L1? I hear no objection. It is so decided. I would also like to remind delegations that our meeting today is expected to end at 1800 or 6 p.m. Abu Dhabi time. However, we may extend as needed for 30 minutes. I would say ojalá que no, but we'll see. We have interesting discussions ahead of us. The Vice Chair and I are determined to make the most of this Council's time and to facilitate engaging discussions on all matters contained in the agenda for this meeting. Before we take up the rest of the agenda items, I would also like to inform members that simultaneous interpretation into the 6 official languages is provided. This concludes the consideration of item 2B of the agenda. I now invite the Council to turn its attention to item 2C, adoption of the report of the 25th meeting of the Council. Pursuant to Rule 49 of the ROP, reports of Council meetings shall not be official until approved by the Council. The Council has before its document, C25 SRL1, draft report of the 25th meeting of the Council. Do I take it that the Council approves the report of the 25th meeting of the Council? I hear no objections. It is so decided. This concludes our consideration of item 2C of the agenda.